June 10th, 1912. A quiet Sunday morning in Villisca, Iowa. Population barely 2,000. A small railroad town where everyone knew everyone. Doors stayed unlocked, children played in the streets, and then a neighbor noticed something wrong at the Moore House on 2nd Avenue. No smoke from the chimney, no chores being done, just silence. What she and the rest of America would soon discover inside that modest, white frame house was the worst mass murder in Iowa history. 8 people, 6 of them children, bludgeoned to death in their beds with an axe. No robbery, no obvious motive, and more than 114 years later, no one has ever been convicted. This is the full story of the Villisca Axe murders, the crime scene that shocked a nation. The suspect who walked free, the serial killer theories that still haunt investigators, and the house that still stands, now open for tours and overnight stays, where some say the dead never left. Josiah B. Moore, also known as JB, was 43, a successful businessman who had broken away from his former boss to run his own John Deere franchise. Well-liked, prosperous, the picture of small town success. His wife, Sarah Montgomery Moore, 39, was the devoted mother and church organizer. Together they had 4 children. Herman Montgomery, age 11, the responsible big brother. Mary Catherine, age 10, bright, outgoing, the one who invited friends over that night. Arthur Boyd, age 7, and Paul Vernon, age 5, the baby of the family. On the evening of June 9th, 1912, Mary Catherine asked 2 friends from a nearby farm to spend the night. Ina Mae Stillinger, age 8, and her older sister, Lena Gertrude Stillinger, age 11. The Stillinger girls were well behaved from a respected family. No one imagined it would be their last night on earth. The entire group, the 6 Moores plus the 2 Stillinger sisters, walked to the Presbyterian Church for the annual Children's Day program. Sarah had helped coordinate it. The kids recited poems and sang hymns. The service ended around 9:30 p.m. The party strolled home under the June stars, arriving between 9:45 and 10 p.m. They went to bed upstairs, the Moore parents in the room and the 4 Moore children in the adjacent bedroom. Downstairs, in the parlor turned guest room, the 2 Stillinger sisters shared a bed. Lights out, doors unlocked, just another peaceful night in Villisca. Sometime between midnight and 5 a.m., a killer or killers slipped inside. The house had no electricity, so the killer found an oil lamp, removed the glass chimney, and turned the wick down low so it only cast a faint glow. Just enough to see by, but not enough to wake the household. He went straight to the master bedroom. Josiah Moore was struck first, most accounts say with the sharp blade of the axe. His skull was split. He received far more blows than anyone else. Estimated at 20 to 30, Sarah was killed next, bludgeoned with the blunt end. The killer then moved to the children's room and methodically crushed the skulls of all 4 Moore kids while they slept. Downstairs in the guest room, Ina and Lena were attacked last. All victims except possibly Lena were believed to have been asleep. Now, this is hard for some viewers, I understand, and it's a quite disturbing case, so I just want to warn everybody. Lena showed a defensive wound on her arm. Her body was found crosswise on the bed, and her nightdress pulled up, undergarments removed. Though later medical exams found no evidence of a sexual assault. The killer wasn't finished, though. He went back upstairs and rained more blows on the already dead bodies, especially Josiah, whose face was destroyed beyond recognition. Blood splattered the walls and ceiling. One swing left a gouge in the plaster. He covered every mirror and every glass surface with clothing or blankets. He pulled sheets and garments over the victims' faces. He closed all the curtains, and he washed his hands in a basin. Some accounts say he helped himself to the food left on the table. He left Josiah's own axe, taken from the coal shed, leaning against the wall in the downstairs bedroom, next to a 4-pound slab of bacon wrapped in a towel. The front door was locked from the outside with a key. 2 cigarettes had been smoked in the attic. In the barn, investigators later found a depression in the hay and a knothole positioned to look directly into the house, as if someone had been watching the family for hours. A keychain fragment not belonging to the Moores was found inside. The killer had been careful, methodical, almost ritualistic, and then he vanished into the night, never to be seen again. At 7 a.m., next-door neighbor Mary Peckham grew worried. No more children outside, no Josiah heading to work. She knocked, no answer. The door was locked. She let the chickens out and called Josiah's brother, Ross Moore. Ross used his spare key. He stepped into the parlor and opened the guest room door. And he found the Stillinger sisters. He immediately told Peckham to fetch Marshal Harry Horton, also known as Hank Horton. Horton arrived, searched the house, and confirmed the nightmare. All 8 were dead. By 8:40 a.m., the telephone operator had sent out an all-call. Within minutes, dozens, if not hundreds of town people poured into the house. They handled the axe, they took souvenirs, such as fragments of Josiah's skull. The crime scene was hopelessly contaminated before any professional investigation could begin. The National Guard eventually had to cordon off the property. Bodies weren't removed until after 10 p.m. that night, nearly 24 hours later. The coroner's jury viewed the scene. Autopsies confirmed death by blunt force trauma. No fingerprints were taken. The science was in its infancy. Bloodhounds were brought in but lost the trail. The entire nation was watching the Moore household. The investigation was plagued from the start. No modern forensics, a contaminated scene, hundreds of tips. Detectives from the Byrds Agency and even a Justice Department agent got involved. They found the low burning lamp, the covered mirrors, the washed hands, all signs of a killer who lingered, almost performing a ceremony. Newspapers speculated the family had been drugged. A grand jury convened, suspects were arrested and released, and then the theories began. Over the years, 5 main suspects emerged. None were ever convicted. Suspect 1, Reverend Lynn George Jacqueline Kelly. English-born traveling Presbyterian minister, standing at 5'2", weighing in at 119 pounds, with a history of mental illness and voyeurism. He had attended the exact Children's Day program the Moores and Stillingers went to that night. He left Villisca on the 5:19 a.m. train, hours before the bodies were found, but later told people about the murders before the news broke. He sent bloody clothes to the laundry. He returned to Villisca posing as a Scotland Yard detective to tour the crime scene. In 1917, he was arrested. After intense interrogation, he confessed, "I killed the children upstairs first, and the children downstairs last. I knew God wanted me to do it this way. Slay utterly came to my mind." Then he recanted, claiming police brutality. First of the two trials was a hung jury, and the second acquitted him. Witness memories had faded after 5 years. Kelly was never charged again, and he lived until 1959. Suspect number 2, Frank F. Jones. Iowa State Senator and Josiah's former employer that Josiah had left was Frank F. Jones. When Josiah left, he took the lucrative John Deere franchise with him. Rumors swirled of an affair between Josiah and Jones's daughter-in-law. A grand jury investigated Jones but returned no indictment. Some claimed he hired a hitman to carry out the killings. Suspect 3, William Blackie Mansfield. Ex-con, possibly a cocaine addict, linked by Burns detective James Wilkerson to similar axe murderers in Colorado, Kansas, and Illinois. Wilkerson claimed Jones hired him. Mansfield had a payroll alibi, though, placing him in Illinois. He sued Wilkerson for defamation and won $2,225, roughly $65,000 today. He was eventually released and never charged. Suspect number 4, Henry Lee Moore, no relation, convicted in 1918 of bludgeoning his mother and grandmother with an axe in Missouri. Justice Department agent Matthew McCleary believed he was a serial killer responsible for dozens of Midwest axe murders. Similarities existed, but motives and timing issues ruled him out for most researchers. Suspect number 5, the man from the train theory, Paul Mueller. In 2017, there was a book written, The Man from the Train, by Bill James and Rachel McCarthy. The authors argue a single German immigrant serial killer committed at least 10, possibly dozens, of similar axe family murders across the Midwest and South between 1911 and 1912. All near railroads, all on Sunday nights, all with covered mirrors and faces, low lamps, and lingering killers. Villisca fits the perfect pattern. The suspect, a farmhand named Paul Mueller. The theory remains compelling but unproven. Other transients, Andy Sawyer and Joe Ricks, were briefly held but cleared. The Moore House still stands at 508 East 2nd Street in Villisca. Restored in the 1990s to its exact 1912 appearance by a couple who had bought it after it had been modernized. Today it operates as the Villisca Axe Murder House Museum. You can take daytime tours, or if you dare, you can book an overnight stay. Guests report hearing voices, footsteps, children laughing, and the feeling of being watched. Paranormal investigators have captured EVPs and shadowy figures. The town has never forgotten. Annual memorials, books, documentaries, but no closure. As of 2026, no DNA breakthroughs, no deathbed confessions, no new physical evidence have solved it. One podcast in late 2025 teased new twists involving modern forensics, but nothing has overturned the official unsolved status. The killer, or killers, got away with the perfect crime. 8 innocent people, 6 children, 1 ordinary Iowa house, 1 extraordinary mystery. If those walls could talk, they've been trying to for 114 years. The Villisca Axe murders, unsolved and unforgotten.